Survive and Advance on the Grizzly True Sports Network. Survive and Advance, as always, is powered by betting.net. Betting.net is your best bet for finding the online casino or sports book that's right for you. Make sure you check them out at betting.net. I am your co-host for Survive and Advance, Mike Goodpaster. Right now, I want to welcome in my co-host, as always, 1981 national champion, Steve Risley. How you doing, Steve?
Doing great, Mike. Good to have our great guest on today. It's going to be a fun show. Talking about something near and dear to my heart.
What, food?
You just fart?
No, I didn't fart, Steve.
Okay.
That was probably you. When you get older, you don't realize when it's yourself doing it. All right, today we're going to preview the Masters tournament, and we have, formerly from the Golf Channel, Brian Hammons. How you doing, Brian?
I'm doing great. Looking forward to the Masters week.
And I think what everybody wants to know is, I've heard that you have actually been friends with Steve Risley for a long time. What's that like?
It's an adventure. That's
probably about all you could say. But as
there's only two things worse than being friends of mine for a long time, like Brian has been. You know, my first experience with Brian, as a friend, I had to babysit his damn dog, who was the most vicious golden retriever I'd ever. Sadie. Yeah. This dog was a wolf in golden retriever skin. Dog would eat you if you tried to get anywhere near that dog. Well, and Hammons and his wife take off to go on some damn vacation or something like that, and leave me with the dog. And the dog did not like me.
Yeah, well, I had that dog when I was single, and it was a bad choice because I had to leave poor Sadie by herself all day, so she probably wouldn't be happy about it.
No, Sadie and I got to be friends finally.
All right, guys, let's go ahead and look at the Masters. And right now, what most non-golf people get excited about here, which will drive them to watch the Masters, is Tiger Woods. So is there any update on Tiger? The last I heard, it sounded like he was going to play, Brian.
He's going to give it a go. And anybody that's been to Augusta National knows that's a very difficult golf course to walk. So it'll be interesting to see if he can hold up, hopefully for 4 days. Hopefully he can make the cut and play for 4 days. But you know, the whole world is anxious to see how he plays coming off an injury that many felt that he would not recover from. I talked to a few podiatrists that said that he'd be lucky to walk with crutches ever again. And here he is playing in the Masters. So,
yeah, I mean, 14 months ago, he almost died in that single car accident. It nearly cost him his life. And 14 months later, is it safe to say that just getting through the first two rounds, whether he qualifies or not, is actually a victory when you consider what he's went through?
It would, yeah, certainly, but he wouldn't consider that because Tiger's not a show pony. He's not going to show up just to, as a celebratory player. He's only there because he thinks he can win. And he was asked that yesterday in his press conference. Do you think you can win the Masters? And he said, I do. So, and everybody that's watched him this week, and he's certainly been under a microscope. Fred Couples played a practice round with him and said his game looks great. So if he can hold up physically, who knows? I mean, he surprised us before. He won the U.S. Open on a broken leg, so who knows?
Yeah, Brian, the question I'd have for this is how much, we know that you and I both have at least walked Augusta National. I mean, I've been there, and people just don't understand the undulation of this golf course until you're on the grounds because TV does not do it justice in terms of how much walking. I mean, I know 1995 is the year that I went when Ben Crenshaw won, and man, I got winded walking that course. And, I was young and in shape then, and that's just a very difficult course to walk. Is it a possibility because what they're going through in Augusta right now with the weather situation? Yesterday was pretty much a washout. This morning has been pretty much a washout. Although they're going to start the par 3 contest at 1 o'clock or give it a go. Is it possible he would make a decision at tee time just to say, I'm ready to go, but I can tell you right now, this weather and the slickness of this golf course, the softness of it walking up and down the holes is just going to do more damage than good for me to tee off.
Yeah, I wouldn't play the way I want to under these conditions. It wouldn't surprise me. I don't expect that. I think he will give it a go, and if he has to wear metal spikes to maintain his balance or whatever, to maintain his footing, then he'll probably do that. But yeah, I think he'll give it a go. But yeah, anything's possible at this point. It's amazing that he's even there.
Yeah, and I noticed he was experimenting with golf shoes because when he showed up the first day, I think it was Monday for a practice round, they had film of him actually wearing FootJoy golf shoes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he was not wearing Nike shoes, so I think that was a great commercial, free plug for FootJoy. It's like, hey, when it gets serious, and the game, your body, the game's on the line, you grab a pair of FootJoys.
Yeah, that's opened up a lot of speculation. Obviously, everything else that he's wearing is Nike, but
Sure.
the shoes, which are a big part of golf apparel. I mean, that's important for Nike to have him wearing their shoes.
Yeah, well, he's wearing them now. He's back to Nike shoes now.
Yeah, does he today?
Yeah, he had them on even yesterday. Anytime I've seen him since that first day, he went back to Nike shoes. I'm sure Daddy Phil called him and said, Tiger, we've got about $1 billion invested in you. Put on a pair of Nike golf shoes.
Yeah.
So metal spikes are still legal at Augusta.
I think, yeah, I'm pretty sure they are. I mean, not for if you and I played there, we couldn't wear them.
Couldn't do it, yeah.
This week, if a player so chooses, he certainly can.
Vegas has him at 51 odds right now. Does he have a chance to win? Realistically, I mean,
I wouldn't bet on him, but you can't. It's hard to bet against the guy, but I certainly wouldn't bet on him. There's just too many other good players playing well and that don't have the physical limitations that he currently has. But Vegas, it doesn't surprise me because anytime Tiger's playing, money's going to be put on Tiger.
Yeah.
Yeah, which tells you those odds are way lower than what they should be just because it's Tiger.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's kind of like when Duke or Kentucky are playing basketball against a team. They're always going to get extra points because you know that people are just going to bet on Tiger.
And Mike, where do they go to get good information to bet?
Oh, look, Steve's trying to show off now. Steve, you tell me, Steve, what would it be? Betting.
It would be betting.net.
There you go.
And if you check the site that doesn't take your money and bet, but gives you the best betting sites to go to get the best odds and get the best personal care for your gambling needs.
Yes, and also, Steve, did you know it's not just sports betting? Betting.net compares the best online casinos so you can sit back, relax, play the top online slots, poker games, table games. Check out betting.net. All right, I have a question.
And Mike, how much money have you lost to betting through betting.net?
I haven't lost anything. They just tell you where to bet. And actually, during the NFL playoffs through the Super Bowl, I cleared like $500 off the $30 I put in to start, and I'm up $400 after the NCAA tournament. So there you go, Steve.
You can pay for groceries this week now.
And Joe said, I just eat grass out of the yard. You know that, Steve. But Joseph Michael says, great job, Steve. Wow. I mean, even the listeners get blown away, Brian, when, Steve gets it right.
I'm a hack.
All right, real quick, I want to ask about a guy.
That's not a Damon either.
I want to ask about a guy who is the number one player in the world. His name's Scottie Scheffler. I know a lot of people hadn't heard of him up until a couple months ago. He never won on tour. But then the guy ends up winning, 3 victories in 5 tournaments. Is he a serious contender here? I mean, a guy that's won that much recently would have to be. But what's your take on Scottie Scheffler?
He's a great player. Is he worthy of the number one player in the world ranking right now? Based on current play, probably, but I don't think I would rank him number one if rankings were done just by like the AP rankings are in football or basketball. But yeah, he's a contender because he's playing great, but I don't know if he's got enough experience around this golf course because this is a golf course that local knowledge is invaluable. I mean, the more you play it, the better you get at it. Now, there have been a few exceptions along the way that play it for the first time and have great success. But for the most part, you've got to have a lot of laps around that place.
Yeah, a couple things to add or to ask about that there. Like Scottie Scheffler, how viable is the number one ranking in golf now just kind of a thing that's just pointed on to you because basically you earn that by points, based on your finishes, your entries into tournaments. It's kind of like the golf rankings all the way. You know, they had Tiger listed at, I think he was down in the 10,000s here recently in terms of golf ranking in the world. And it's only because, my God, he hadn't played for a year and a half, so he gets no points. So really it's not a ranking. So, and a lot of these top players really don't get too heavily involved early in the season. They pick and choose, like the LA Open, or so there's Pebble Beach, something like that. They go to their favorite tournaments on the West Coast swing before they come back and really start digging in to points. So, being number one anymore this day, is it really anything that we need to worry about, or is it a legitimate moniker to carry on your golf bag?
Well, for those players, it's very legitimate because they get hefty bonuses from their sponsors if they are the number one ranked player in the world. So that is something they strive for. And we're not talking just a couple of bucks if you're ranked number one in the world. But the way that they arrive at that, it goes back, like you said, it's a points-based system, but those points start disappearing after a certain period of time. And I can't remember what that is. But so if you won a tournament in the past a ways, well, that falls off. So that's why you see the players moving up and down the world rankings. But Scottie Scheffler's recent play has elevated him to the top of the world rankings, and we'll see how long he stays there. John Rahm is right behind him, and there are a lot of great players right behind him. So we'll see. But for the players, yeah, it's a big deal because there's big money involved.
Okay, still two parts to the question coming here for you. One, at Augusta, really, if you were going there to play tomorrow and tee it off, Brian, as a player, what would you want to be dialed in the most? Your power, your shot making ability, or your putting? What is the one key at Augusta that you have to have? I mean, it's not a bomber's course, it doesn't appear to me anymore, although you still have to hit it long, but the fairways are generous, and they're cut tight enough you get a lot of roll. Shot making seems to be critical, but it seems to me it always comes down to the putts in the last 9 on Sunday.
Well, I think power is going to be more amplified this week because the golf course is wet, at least early in the week. Now, the rest of the week, I don't think there's any rain in the forecast, maybe early overnight tonight and early tomorrow morning. But other than that, I don't think there's any more rain. But when the course is wet, I think power is more important than it will be when it dries out. To answer your question, because the greens, to play well at Augusta National, to putt well at Augusta National, your approach shots have to be in a certain quadrant of the green. Well, I would say your approach shots, your iron play, is going to be the thing that you'd really like to have dialed in this week. Because if you're just hitting greens, but you're hitting on the wrong sides of the green, you got no chance with those greens. You have to be really dialed in to hit a small portion of that green to have a chance to make your putt and make birdies.
Yeah, and I've heard it be described most frequently as like if you have a glass top on your kitchen table, your table sits there with like a glass top on top of it. Get up on there and try putting on that and stopping the putt or stopping the ball anywhere near where you want it to stop. That's kind of how I've heard the greens described, how it is like putting on the greens at Augusta.
Yeah, and if you're on the wrong side,
they're cut to a 12, basically, aren't they? Right around a 12 or 12.5.
I think it's more than that. I think it's more like a 13 or so.
Yeah, so these are the fastest greens. But because it's a major that they go back to every year, like you said, I think that it's okay. The players know where to hit the ball. They were talking about, Nota Begay was on this morning talking about Tiger, and he said he's only played 2 9-hole practice rounds. He's actually probably the only player out there because of the weather who's gotten all the practice time he wanted to get. The schedule he laid out for practice because of the shortness of it. So Tiger's gotten all of his practice time in there, but how important is it that these guys play this course every year? So isn't it pretty that they know exactly where they need to hit the ball and where they need to put it on the green, because it's the same course they play every year.
Right, and they know that they know where they have to put the ball on the green to have a makeable putt each hole location that they're going to see this week. So that's why many laps around that place and having local knowledge and having played that event several times is so important.
Yeah, Mike.
All right, my question, and I know I'm going to screw his name up, but last year's winner, Hideki Matsuyama, was I close there?
Yeah, Hideki
Right on.
All
right
right.
on.
Okay, I can speak Japanese now. But it was a huge deal last year because, I think he was the first Japanese-born player to win at the Masters. And I think he proved he wasn't a fluke after he won that, but he had injury issues starting last October, and I know he just withdrew a week or two ago from a tournament. What's his status here?
I don't, he doesn't speak much English, so I haven't heard, but I know he's going to play.
Yeah.
He's going to attempt to play, and everybody was really happy with his menu last night at the Champions Dinner. So
Yeah, I was going to say I peeled that off on the printer and handed that to my wife. I said, Tia, this is what I want for dinner tonight. So you get out to the grocery store and you start finding Kobe beef and all this Japanese stuff. And I'm not a sushi guy at all, but we'll give it a try if it's on Hideki's menu. So he had a nice menu, actually.
Yeah, it looked pretty good. And I know Jordan Spieth was really excited. He said he may have to wheel me out of there because I'll be asking for seconds and thirds. But it was started off with sushi and then went to a steak of some sort with Kobe beef.
And cod, fresh cod.
Yeah, so it was. Yeah,
and then strawberries and cream or some kind of strawberry.
Japanese strawberry shortcake.
Shortcake. Whoa. Yeah, I'm having it for dinner tonight. It'll probably come in a Masters TV dinner or something like that. Ready bought. Just slap one down. So put it in the microwave and eat it.
That's not a bad idea. The Masters should market the Masters TV dinner.
Yeah, whatever they come out with for the rest of the tournament.
Do they still make TV dinners?
Yeah.
I think they're just called different things, though, right? Like Swanson's meals or something.
I don't know.
What the hell? So it's
called binge eating.
I know you know all about that, Steve.
No, it's binge eating, meaning you watch TV and binge. I'm on this show called The Ranch right now, and it's like 8 seasons long, and I'm on the middle of season 7, and I only started watching it about 6 days ago.
In my defense, like 4 years ago, I told you should watch it.
Yeah, well, I'm slow on everything.
What show is this?
The Ranch with Austin Kutcher and Sam Elliott.
Was it good?
It's hilarious. It's very well written. It's only a half hour, so you're not investing a lot of time per episode.
Anything with Sam Elliott is good.
Yeah,
it's great. It basically Kutcher took most of the stars from Two and a Half Men when he did that,
the '70s show,
and then the '70s show, and married him together and formed this show called The Ranch. And it's about an old grumpy dad, Sam Elliott, and his 2 idiot sons, Austin Kutcher and the other one who I guess is in jail now for, I don't know, some bad crime. They actually wrote him off the show last night.
They killed him off.
They killed him off.
Watch it.
Pardon?
I was going to watch it.
Yeah, now Steve ruined it for everybody that hasn't seen it.
That's a very minor part of the show.
That's what somebody always says when they give up the end. See, this is the bad thing, Brian. When Steve calls me, he'll call me during a game, and his TV for some reason is like 10 seconds behind mine or ahead of mine. And I'll tell him, don't tell me what goes on. And we'll be talking, and all of a sudden he'll say, did you see that shot? 10 seconds later, I see that shot.
That's living in a major metropolitan area versus Lawrenceburg, Indiana.
I would much rather live anywhere than California.
Well, I'll tell you what. I noticed both of you have a hoodie on and golf sweater on. All right, it's going to be 95 here today.
Yeah.
So we ain't crying.
Hell's always hot, Steve. Hell's always hot.
And we haven't seen but the Santa Anas are kicking up, so it's not a hot, and it's a dry heat. You don't.
I don't want to hear that. 95 degrees is still 95 degrees. I don't want it's a dry heat.
It's really not that bad. Brian will tell you he's done enough broadcasting out in the West.
Brian only went there because he got paid. We don't know why you went there. It was to get away from Indiana because people were getting tired of your crap.
No, it was because my wife said we're moving there to take care of our son. That's why.
Well, anytime you have a 12-year-old that moves across country, you need to go with him.
Unfortunately, he's 27. All right.
Ross, if you're listening, I'm apologizing right now to you. So just go ahead and keep going with it. Go ahead, Steve.
Okay. The pressure of playing Augusta, Brian, we know it's enormous. Is it the most coveted major to win in your mind? Or, I mean, they all have their moniker. I mean, you know, the British is going to be at St. Andrews this year. The U.S. Open is considered the most difficult tournament to win. The PGA is kind of the fourth major, but it still is relevant. But is the Masters the one they all shoot for?
I think it depends on the player. I think a foreign player from Europe would probably say the Open Championship would be the pinnacle for them. Some would probably say the U.S. Open because it is a more open championship, and there aren't that many players at the Masters. It might be the easiest major to win, certainly, because you've got a smaller field and it's harder to qualify for it than it is the U.S. Open or the PGA Championship or the Open Championship. But prestige-wise, probably. I know Zach Johnson takes great pride in the fact that he's won both of his majors at Augusta National and at the Old Course. And it chokes him up to even talk about where he won his majors, two of the most famous golf courses anywhere in the world. So, yeah, it means a lot to win the Masters, but is it the most? Yeah, I think it depends on the player.
Yeah, well, you get the lifetime exemption. That's probably one thing you don't get. I don't know. I think the Open may give you a lifetime exemption.
Not anymore. Now it's only good until you're 65.
Oh, is that what it is? Because I know Daly treks back over there every year because he won at St. Andrews. So
yeah.
How many players do you think roll their eyes every time they figure out Daly has 2 majors and a lot of these great players have 0 majors?
John Daly underachieved. I mean, he had the talent to win bunches of majors.
Yeah.
So I think he would admit to that he underachieved. But he certainly had the talent to win more majors and win a lot more tournaments. But you know, he had some lifestyle issues that kind of got in the way for a while.
Yeah. A couple players are there some added pressure? Talk to this a little bit if you can. Rory McIlroy and Brooks Koepka. What am I going to say? What am I going to ask you?
As far as McIlroy is concerned, I like him this week.
Where's the added pressure?
Yeah, I mean, he needs the Masters to win the career Grand Slam.
And Koepka does too. See, both of them have won all 3 majors. Rather, the only thing they have to complete the career Grand Slam.
Yeah, Koepka's not 100% healthy. It hasn't been playing great. McIlroy hasn't been playing great lately. Missed the cut last week. At the Valero Texas Open, so that's not the kind of form you want to have coming into the Masters. But you know, he's so talented that if he catches lightning in the bottle, he can certainly win this week. And I like his chances. I like Jordan Spieth's chances, even though he's kind of still in the middle of a swing change. But his short game is so good. He plays so well at Augusta National. John Rahm. Certainly, you can't count him out. Justin Thomas is the guy that I think you really got to keep an eye on. That would be my pick to win this week with Justin Thomas.
Yeah, he seems to be a perennial favorite. I'd throw Bubba Watson in there too. He's another one of those guys who just seems to have a real hankering for this golf course. You know, I don't know if it's because he's left-handed and it favors him a little bit, because this course tends to play right to left more than it does left to right. And of course, he's left-handed, so like you and me, you hit the ball all over the damn place. When I hit the ball, it pretty much just always goes left or right. I'm sorry, right, with a slice.
The name to keep an eye on that people aren't familiar with is Will Zalatoris.
Yeah.
Finished second last year. I'm pretty sure it was his first appearance at Augusta National. Great putter. Really good ball striker. That's a name if you're looking for a dark horse. If you go to what is it?
Betting.net.
Betting.net. That's where you might want to put a few dollars on Will Zalatoris as a long shot.
Yeah. And they've talked to this a little bit and addressed it, and I don't know how familiar you are with it because I know you haven't been on the grounds as far as I know since they did it. But again, they made some course changes this year. I think number 11 got a reface and a couple other holes. How much do those come into play with these guys right now?
Well, 11 starts off the Amen corner. And they've added, it used to be a 505-yard par 4. Now it's 520 yards. And they've added some, they took out a bunch of trees on 11, but they've added a few others in strategic places. So it's going to be, Rory said it's a completely different hole as far as the players are concerned. 15, the par 5, they've added yardage to that. It was 520, now it's 550, which it's still a 2-shot hole for those guys. But Augusta's always tweaking holes. I mean, they say they look at every hole every year and change things where they think need to be changed, and those are the 2 holes that they changed this year.
Yeah, I remember a long time ago, the very first time they really went out and really revamped the course. The moniker out there was they were tiger proofing the course, because when after he won in '97 by such a hideous number, I think it was 18 under, which they don't like to see that low at Augusta. They came out the next year or next 2 years, I think, and said the media, who always come up with these eloquent phrases, had indicated, hey, they've tiger-proofed the course. And then now Tiger's not even in the top 10% of long drivers on tour anymore. I mean, you got guys that can bomb the ball 350, 360 on a regular basis out there, and are straight hitters can do it. So, length is not – I don't think that length is the biggest issue here, but I think it could become if the weather gets sour, because balls are going to give you the roll they need to get down and get to these par 5s and 2, which is your scoring holes on this course for the most part.
Well, the biggest thing they did to, as you say, tiger-proof the golf course was they added what they call the first cut. They don't call it rough, but it's the first cut. But they added about a ½ inch of rough, and that made a big difference. There used to be no rough anywhere on the golf course. I mean, it was all fairway until you got.
Yeah, it was when I went there. Yeah, when I went there was no rough anywhere.
And so you could control the golf ball if you missed the fairway. But now you get a flyer on those golf courses, and you can't spin the ball like you normally do on those greens. That was the big difference, is adding that what they call the first cut.
That's the one thing I don't think people realize about Augusta is the proximity of, like take 15, okay, for example, and then it comes 16. And I know you've seen this, and you know what I'm talking about. There's a pond that you hit over on 16 to get to the green. That pond is really, I mean, the distance between the 15 green and the 16 tee is maybe no more than 15 yards. I mean, you know what I'm talking about, don't you?
Yeah.
I mean, where you go to some of these laid out courses now, where your golf cart may run out of batteries before you get from one green to the next tee box.
I'm just looking at Mike. He's falling asleep over there. I can tell he's a huge golf fan.
I just want to know this. I want to know, is Augusta as tough as the Milan Country Club? As the Milan golf course we've got in Milan.
Oh, the Milan course.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure Steve's played it. I mean, Milan, you've got those 500-yard holes, too. Well, it sounds about the same.
I'm going to tell you, I've been in Indiana long enough that if you sit there and let Bobby Plump tell you, there's no golf course.
Why do you hate Bobby Plump so much?
Because the first time I talked to Bobby Plump, the fish he caught was that big. All right? By the 50th time I heard Bobby wax poetically on 1954, that fish had gotten the size of a damn Jaws fish.
And I still don't know why the jealousy. I mean, he just won a high school national championship. You won a
I got beat by Aurora High School.
I know. A bunch of 5-foot midgets beat you to death.
Well, it happens. That's for sure.
Bob,
Any other questions you got? I think
I have a question because I heard about this National Country Club Championship, and I know that Brian, I think you're running it. You want to tell us a little bit about it?
It's the Country Club National Championship. It's a Ryder Cup for golf clubs. I had the idea for years. Every time I go to a President's Cup or a Ryder Cup or a Solheim Cup, for that matter, I always thought, man, it'd be really cool to replicate this for the everyday player. So we did last year. We started the Country Club National Championship. It's 8-player teams. We played last year at Orlando at Disney World. This year we're going to be in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, and it's open to all golf clubs, private, public. So we had a blast last year. Players had a great time, and we're looking for bigger and better things this year. And if anybody's interested in learning more and putting a team in, they can go to ccncgolf.com to learn more about it. It's a handicapped event, and it's so anybody, any age and skill level can participate and have a great time.
Now, Brian, you call it the Country Club National Championships or National Country Club Championships. Is this limited to just country clubs, or if you belong to even a semi-private golf club, does that club qualify as well?
Absolutely. To all clubs. And if you're not at a private club, as long as your handicap is established at the course you're representing, then you're good to go. And there's one professional allowed per team, so you can bring your pro along. And most of our teams brought pros last year. It's not mandatory. We had some that didn't. They said our pro's not good enough. We're just going to come play. And if the pro participates, they get compensated. So if they want to learn more, they can go to ccncgolf.com.
Winning team get a new set of Callaway irons and woods.
They get a big trophy. They get a flag they can fly on their flagpole that says 2022 National Champions. They get medals. They get all kinds of stuff.
Okay. All
So
right.
could I play in it next year if I bring Steve? Because he's my handicap.
Hey, you bring him and 6 other guys, and you're good to go.
I don't know 6 other people that'll talk to me, though.
Brian, don't start on me here. I'm going to tell them about the time we played Orange County, and you shot 34 on the front and 54 on the back.
It was 47.
Okay, who's counting? I know you weren't after a while.
After a while. After
All
the
right.
triple on 10, my day went south.
I want to thank Chris for listening in. He's made a bunch of comments. I know he's a big Kansas Jayhawk fan, so he's happy about what happened the other day.
And well, they
Kansas City
should.
Jayhawks.
Yeah, the only problem with that game was this. I mean, everybody just acts like it didn't happen, but the dude that runs out of bounds and catches the ball, I can tell you this. Not that I bet Kansas and gave 4 points, but with 3 seconds left, during bet on the ball fouling Kansas, I think, well, hell, I'm getting out of here up by 5, and it's over with. And then the next thing you know, this moron runs out of bounds, and they throw the ball to him. What the hell, Steve? I mean, I was on a roll. I was winning all my bets, and then that just fell apart.
What he's trying to tell you, he gave up the 4.5 points
It was
and
4.
took Kansas.
I had Kansas money line. I didn't. I thought 4 was too many.
I thought it was too, but the saving grace was at halftime. I bet like $40 on Kansas to win the game straight up, and it paid at like $130, $140 then. So
Yeah.
What the hell?
Yeah, the live betting was smart that game.
because I didn't think that North Carolina would be able to blow them out, if you know what I mean.
Tell you what though, if that Baycott, that's his name, right?
Yeah.
If he didn't get hurt, might have been a different outcome.
Oh yeah, that kid can play.
They went inside to their big and made a couple of plays late. If Baycott doesn't get hurt, it might have been a different outcome.
Yeah, because
We all
Baycott,
agree to that.
Baycott, he was a presence, and he was probably only like 50% in that game.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right, Steve.
Well,
anything
Brian,
else?
one last question for you. Yeah, do you have a favorite given the situation they're facing right now with the weather conditions, especially? And I'll give my answer too, and Mike can take a shot at it.
Oh wow, Mike could
He's
take a
probably
shot.
going
at
to
it.
say Sam Snead or something stupid like that, but that's
Yeah.
okay.
Okay.
Or Chris. It sounds like Chris thinks Nicholas can still win, but that's all right, Chris. Go on rooting for your Jayhawks. That's all right.
Well, I
Because
like
one day, Hoosier Nation will return. God knows when, but
I don't believe
You know.
that, but go ahead.
Butler had to steal an IU guy to get their program resurrected.
An IU guy went to Butler, coached at Ohio State. He was holding.
Hey, he coached at Xavier and got him to the Elite Eight.
That dude's been everywhere. So, Brian,
he should have been the IU coach, but that's just
Chris thinks different. Tiger will win. I think you're dreaming pie in the sky there, Chris.
That would be the
greatest. I want to see him play 4 rounds. I want to watch him on TV and play in the Masters, but I don't think he's going to be in the top 10 and won't be on the leaderboard come Sunday. But, Brian, back to you. I'll shut up.
Well, if Tiger would win, that would probably be the greatest sports story of all time.
No, it's Bobby Plump. It's Bobby Plump, Brian.
Second best sports story of all time. But I don't see that happening. I'm going to stick with Justin Thomas. I think he's playing well. He's played well at Augusta National consistently. He's long. He's coming in playing great. So I'm going to stay with Justin Thomas.
All right, Mike, you got any knowledge of? And I understand you don't follow golf, so
John Rahm.
John Rahm's a great pick.
Well, I think this. I think that from what I've read on my research today, I think he is almost a top 10 lock. So I'll just throw him out as my winner. Yeah. Because, I mean, he's very consistent.
Well, Mike, I tend to agree with you. I actually had John Rahm written down as well.
That makes you look stupid since you just mocked me.
No, Rahm is poised to win. He had not won a major yet. Or yes, he did. He won the U.S. Open last year. So
I knew that, by the way, and you didn't. But, you just read it.
No. I know because I was listening to an interview with him. But I think if this course stays, the weather conditions stay as they are, although I think by tomorrow afternoon it's supposed to be sunny and nice the rest of the weekend. Yeah. I think it's going to be more a technician-type golfer rather than a bomber or things like that. I think the big, long hitters will be taken out. It's going to take the guys that have great mid-iron play that can stick the ball close to these greens, and so they can putt well. So, John Rahm would be the guy I would choose. I love Justin Thomas. I love seeing him win. I love him as a golfer. Let me clarify that. But I think it's going to be these European players who are more used to playing in inclement weather over in the European Tour than our American spoiled players are, who, if it drizzles too much, they go back and start eating chocolate sundaes again at the Medina Clubhouse.
Well, that narrows it down. Which European player are you picking?
Well, I said John Rahm.
Okay.
So, but there's a host of guys that are out there, European players, that are like that. That I think, like when Danny Willett shows up. I mean, it's just, I think this could be a year for another one of these Danny Willets to show up and win this thing.
Got it.
So,
well, I think
hope not too. I hope it is Rahm and Justin Thomas in the final pairing on Sunday. I think that'd be mad.
I would like to get this straight. If Rahm wins, I did pick him before Risley, and everybody saw that. So
yeah, no, Mike, I'll give you. That's fine. It's a great pick.
But even though you mocked my knowledge, I used to golf all the time until I had back issues, and every time I tried to hit a golf ball, the next day I could barely walk. So.
Oh, Brian, that's one thing I wanted to go back to and talk about. The Country Club Championships. Where are they being played this year?
Myrtle Beach, South Carolina.
What a great place, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of golf courses to go play. And when you go down there, how many rounds are you guaranteed?
Well, you're guaranteed 3 rounds, a practice round and 2 rounds of competition. And the good thing is, if your team gets eliminated from the competition, you can stick around and play for fun the rest of the week because we have all the golf courses all week. So what teams do, or what they did last year, was they would find another eliminated team, create their own game, and just have fun. And there were some interesting games being played last year between eliminated teams.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, a lot of stuff that betting.net could probably handle.
Yeah.
The odds on, so I'm sure.
Well, how about this, Steve? Next year, if you're healed, me, you, and John Raspani, we got 3 right there. And John's pretty good. And you always tell me you're good. So how good was Steve, Brian? He told me he could have probably played on the tour.
Which tour?
I don't know.
the
tour of duty, but
Steve was a good player at one point. Now I don't know what he hasn't played for a few years now, and he's getting older. So I don't know, but you can play from the forward tees now, so you should be all right.
Yeah, the ladies' tees.
I'm of the volition right now that I can just buy a better game.
You've always thought that.
Roger Dunn now. I've got the brand new ping driver still in its wrapping. Been sitting there for 2 years. It's my second new ping driver, wrap, still relevant to wrapping, because I had to have it so I could just play with it, but I've never been able to play with it. So there it is. And now when I get ready to go play this summer, because I'm finally going to be cleared to play, they'll come out with the third best driver, so I'll take that back to Roger Dunn. You know the great thing about Roger Dunn? As long as I keep that plastic wrapping on the driver, they give me full credit back for a trade-in. I mean,
he's Bobby Plump's security guard.
$525 golf club. I take it back, and they just give me $525 credit on the next $625 golf club.
That you still can't hit out of your shadow.
No, exactly. Not anymore. I'm an old fart. You'll get there, Hammons.
I'm getting there.
Yeah.
All right, guys, head over now.
Anyway,
Hey, don't interrupt me. I was trying to read a betting.net promo.
I had a point to my story about Myrtle Beach.
Go ahead. Tell your
story.
The
great thing about Myrtle Beach is it is a true family destination. So when you go down there, if you want to play in the Country Club Championships, great place to take your family, although there are a lot of other distractions you probably don't want your family around.
Like what?
Down in Myrtle Beach. I think we'll just leave those to your imagination. But the point being, for you, Mike, they have the greatest array of putt-putt courses of any
I'd smoke your ass in putt-putt, Risley. I beat you in everything else.
Of any golfing community I've ever seen, like a Myrtle Beach or a Hilton Head, nobody has better putt-putt courses around than Myrtle Beach. Would you agree to that?
We're not playing on putt-putt courses.
You what?
We're not playing on putt-putt courses.
No, but for Mike, that's a great place for him to go play.
Keep talking, Risley.
All right, I'm wrapping up.
Old man. Jeez, you're like LeBron James. All you do is talk about your shit, and then you get hurt.
You didn't talk about, Brian, we need to talk about Augusta. Anything you want to say?
No, and I always tell people, and you know this, Steve, you go into Augusta National, when you go there, your expectations are already very high. But reality is up here. It's one of the few places you'll ever go where reality exceeds your already high expectations.
Exactly.
So it's like the first time I saw boobs.
Yeah, that's a good analogy.
Thank you. See, Steve, he likes me. All right, guys, make sure you head over now and see for yourself. Betting.net makes it easy to find all the legal online casinos or sports books in your state. And this is the other thing. If you guys are ever doing a podcast and you have a place that's, that powers your network, don't interrupt somebody when they're talking about that. Now, what'd you say, Steve?
I stopped.
Yeah, but you started to talk. Go ahead, Steve.
I just was going to say my first experience with your example was the snake pit at the Indy 500.
That is always your first example for everything. It's the first time you saw boobs. It's the first time you saw people do it. It's the first time you saw... Well, I'm just going to stop there.
It was a great educational experience for those that never got to experience the snake pit at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. You missed out on one of life's greatest lifelong Woodstocks.
Got that right.
I went there about 8 years before I ever saw a car go around a track.
All right. We're going to go ahead and wrap it up from there since Steve's taking this show to the gutter, as he usually does. Brian, always a pleasure to have you on the show. Love to have you back some other time.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Maybe we'll do this for all the majors. That'll make Steve happy. He gets excited anytime we get to do golf or NASCAR. And that reminds me, like, our hottest new show on the network is, Ryan, Joe, and Steve on the NASCAR show, which will be live tonight at 7 o'clock. Correct, Steve?
That is correct. And we have a lot of enticing stuff to cover.
Like what?
Well, if I told you now, you wouldn't listen.
If you don't tell me, I may not listen because
I don't tell you that Rooster got killed off the start of season 7.
Actually, you did
on the ranch.
I just supported it because I didn't think Brian was going to watch the ranch. But we're going to go ahead and wrap it up now because I'm sure Brian has important things to do other than talking to us. I want to thank Brian again. Make sure you listen to the NASCAR show at 7 o'clock tonight. And the NFL show tomorrow night at 8 o'clock with myself, NFL beat writer Dan Kornhauser, and Steve Risley with his Indianapolis Colts Carson Wentz jersey that he still wears.
That's number 2. I can wear it again this year as long as I
Well, tomorrow I want you to have Ryan on the back of it instead of Wentz.
I told you I already got a blue Sharpie and just colored it out.
I don't think it works that way. But all right, guys, we're going to wrap it up. Make sure you follow us at The Grueling Truth. Make sure you click on Caesar's Sportsbook. Will be in the link and the description below on this video on YouTube. We're on over 300 different networks, including Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, you name it, we're there. But for now, for Brian Hammons, Steve Risley, I'm Mike Goodpaster. You've been watching and listening to The Grueling Truth, where the legends speak.